Hello, my name is Lordessa Croy, and today I'll be discussing the history and deep structural elements of culture in the country of Cabo Verde. The cultural elements I will specifically be focusing on are family, religion, and speech, which are affected greatly by the country's diverse history. The Republic of Cabo Verde, also more commonly known as Cape Verde, is a country in West Africa on a cluster of islands. Known for its stunning beaches, rich history, and vibrant culture. And speaking of culture, Cabo Verde has a unique and diverse cultural identity that is deeply rooted in its history and traditions. The islands were uninhabited until the 15th century when Portuguese discovered and claimed them. The islands became an important center for ship refilling and trading, such as for goods like rum, weaponry, ivory, textiles, sugar, and tens of thousands of enslaved people from the African continent. As mentioned, which this was mentioned in an article about Cabo Verde, written by Catherine Roberts. The transatlantic slave trade, with many enslaved Africans passing through on their way to the Americas, was a massive reason for the culture and community. One of the most important cultural elements of Cabo Verde is its family structures. So Cabo Verdean families are typically large and extended with strong bonds between family members. Family ties are highly valued in Cabo Verde, and family members often rely on each other for support and assistance. The emphasis on family is deeply rooted in Cabo Verdean culture and can be traced back to the country's history of slavery. Slavery led to the separation of families in Cabo Verde. Many families were torn apart as enslaved individuals were sold to different parts of the world. This resulted in the breakdown of traditional family structures and led to the development of new family formations. The concept of extended family became more prevalent, with people forming bonds with those who were not related to them by blood. This was particularly true for those enslaved individuals who were forced to rely on each other for survival. Then there's religion, which plays an essential role in Cabo Verdean culture. Cabo Verde was colonized by the Portuguese in the 15th century, and with them came the Catholic Church. Catholicism became the dominant religion in Cabo Verde and was deeply integrated in the country's culture. However, the legacy of slavery had a significant impact on the religious practices of Cabo Verdeans. Enslaved individuals brought with them their own spiritual beliefs, which often blended with Catholicism. That was introduced to Cabo Verde by the Portuguese. This resulted in the development of a unique form of Catholicism that incorporated African spiritual beliefs. An example of this spiritualism, which is still actually incorporated, that I found in an article in CapeVerde.com about religion, is about a very touching African ritual where at a funeral for infants, infant funerals, in place of their parents, a group of children accompanies them where they're laid to rest. This is due to the African belief that an evil spirit has taken the child, and the spirit must be prevented from bringing more harm to the family when it sees it. Now, the official language is actually Portuguese, but Creole or Criollo was strongly used by slaves and by residents even today. Criollo is a Creole language that developed from the Portuguese language, but was heavily influenced by the African languages. In fact, an interesting element about Creole or Criollo, as said by Bob Koigi in his article The Forgotten Africans, was how Creole or Criollo was used as a resistance language against those who enslaved them. Enslaved individuals spoke a variety of different African languages, which led to the development of a new language that blended Portuguese with African linguistic elements. It reflects the country's unique history and cultural diversity, blending Portuguese, African, and European languages. The Creole or Creole language and people also have a heavy use of proverbs, idioms, and sayings that are very, very common. They often convey moral and cultural values, which is even said to be heavily used in their music. That someone who doesn't understand Creole will miss the meanings of songs and jokes, as said by Duessa in the article Creole and Cape Verde, Language, Identity, and Power. It also said that so much of the Creole language doesn't even translate into Portuguese that a lot of those idioms aren't recognized. In conclusion, the deep structural elements of culture in Cabo Verde reflects a strong sense of community and communal responsibility. Slavery had a profound impact on Cabo Verdean culture, particularly in terms of family structure, religion, and speech. Despite the challenges that Cabo Verdeans faced during the transatlantic slave trade, they were able to develop a unique and resilient culture that continues to thrive today as a beautiful island nation with rich cultural identity. Thank you for listening.